Marriage counselors of Reddit. What's the stupidest reason a couple has made an appointment? My anger management group facilitator told us a funny story about a couple that came in for counseling. The husband wanted to write a book. The wife said she would work and do everything around the house for a year while he worked on his book. So he quit work and wrote his book while she did everything. The book got published and was a hit. The publisher asked him to do a book signing tour. The wife was furious. She had supported him writing the book and she was done. They came to the appointment and explained the situation. The therapist asked the wife, "So what would it take for you to be okay with the book tour?" She said, "A trip to Hawaii with my sister." The husband was like, "Really? Done." The appointment was over in 5 minutes. If only it was always that easy. My sister-in-law made an appointment for marriage counseling because her husband greeted their dog before her when coming home from work. I have no option. The dogs are literally at the door, ready for me to try and not trip over them. For real. I can't even greet my toddlers first because the dogs are like, "Nah dude, we were here long before you. Get out of the way." I have to put the kids on my knees and then pet the dogs while they're jumping up at me. My specialty is children and families, but during the pandemic I was assigned whatever came in, because it has been super busy. One lady called and spoke with me first about how her husband was horrible at communication and never listened to her. She asked for a couple session. As soon as she ambushed her husband with "There is a therapist on the line that wants to speak with you," her husband screamed, "You called a therapist? Because I don't want to paint the house purple." She wanted me to convince him to paint the house purple, and like any normal human who sees colors, he refused to listen to her. Ah yes, the superpower of having eyeballs. Oh vacuous rum. Grant that woman eyes. Had an argument with my mom because I wanted to paint my room purple. She said purple was for depressed people and old women. I'm a 17-year-old guy and just really like purple. LOL. Back in high school my friend had a lot of purple shirts. And by this I mean he only had purple shirts. He had like 2 dozen of the same plain purple shirt from JCPenney. His closet was hilarious. He just liked purple a lot. My uncle and his wife, reasoning. She lost a frying pan. I mean, I get that it's a stupid argument, but how the frick do you lose a frying pan? Cupboard, greater than hob, greater than next to sink, greater than into sink to soak, greater than next to sink, because other things need washing, greater than angry wife puts all the washing in the garden out of spite, because husband never does the fricking washing up and the kitchen is a fricking mess, greater than raccoon steals frying pan. I can totally see this sort of thing coming up between my husband and I. He refuses to learn where anything in our kitchen leaves. So if he unloads the dishwasher and doesn't know where something leaves, instead of asking me, putting it to one side to ask later, etc., he just shoves it somewhere random. I spent a month looking for my spatula once. He denied point blank that he had touched it. Eventually I found it wedged under a sugar bag in my baking cupboard. He denied he'd put it there. We are the only 2 people in the house and I know the spatula leaves in the goddamn fricking drawer with the other utensils. The argument on its face is about a lost spatula, but the reality is the fight is about why it went missing in the first place, and the subsequent denial of involvement in said loss. It's always the dishes. I don't see couples anymore, because I cannot have one more conversation with adult human beings about the various philosophies of dishwashing. Dad told me that the secret to a happy marriage was a dishwasher and 2 bathrooms, cheaper in the long run as well, both in water saved and in therapists. Double sink in the master bathroom is a huge call improvement. As a younger person, I want to say that the game is rigged. We've learned from our parents, don't rush into marriage, test out sexual compatibility check and check. But do you know how long it takes to establish dishwashing compatibility? Couldn't decide on which chicken to buy for their chicken farm, like which specific chicken, or which breed of chicken to raise in general. We have 6 chickens. I wanted 2 ornamental chickens, funny looking, but questionable egg layer, and my husband was like, "Why though?" But he loves them now. He enjoys laying in the hammock and watching them with their chicken pompadours run around. He posts more pics of these chickens than the regular ones. Heck, even more than our kids. A pimp and one of his ex-workers scheduled a session to see me because they were having jealousy issues. They were legally married and he was unhappy with how she couldn't leave work at work. Best couple ever. What does that mean? Does she call her clients in her downtime or talk about work with her husband? That has so many layers of dysfunction. I'm intrigued. I want stories. I kind of understand this one. My ex was an ex-worker, but she had a history of sexual abuse when she was young. and because of the nature of the work, she had a hard time being vulnerable and open with me. Makes it hard to be intimate with someone who is closed off and guarded during X. I remember thinking I wish she didn't treat me like another client during X. Rest of the relationship was fine. We were just too young to realize we both had unresolved issues and eventually broke up. I had a friend whose girlfriend was a full-service stripper and they really struggled with intimacy. She didn't want more male attention when she got home. She just wanted a break from being sexualized. It was sad all around. A buddy of mine was in therapy with his wife. She told me later that my friend, let's call him Gary, has a drinking problem. Me? Wait, what? Since when is Gary drinking? I never saw him drink alcohol. Her? That's the problem. Oh, Gary, I hope you are fine now. I once had an ex who was in AA tell me I was an alcoholic because I and my family didn't drink much, and that was an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. The early days of recovery are weird. My cousin went to counseling because her husband cuts the sandwich straight inside of diagonal. When I first heard it, I thought it was a joke. My ex-coworker once told me about an argument he and his girlfriend regularly have. Apparently, when you make a sandwich, some people care about whether the bread remains facing the same way it did in the original loaf or if one piece gets turned around relative to the other. I don't just mean top of the loaf remains facing the same way. I mean the cut sides of the slices remain facing the slice they were originally cut from. I told my fiancé about this ridiculousness and he said no. I see her point and now I have to regularly have conversations about which way bread is facing. Edited to add, I hate all of you. It depends on the type of bread. It doesn't make a difference with the factory-style one where every slice is the same square shape, but they're not going to match up and give proper coverage if it's a curved loaf. Not that I'd refuse to eat a sandwich which hadn't been made this way. It's more of a fussiness about making it look right. My husband now is 32 and won't eat a sandwich unless cut diagonal. I made the mistake of cutting it straight once as a prank. It wasn't funny. You don't mess with his diagonal sandwiches. I'm a counselor with teenagers and kids. A school staff member dragged these two teens into my office one day, a boy and a girl. Both were clearly upset, but definitely didn't want to talk about it with me. You could have cut the tension with a knife as they sat frozen in their chairs staring at the floor. I saw them and thought, oh frick, she's pregnant. I'm trying not to panic at how to handle the situation as I finally get them talking, and it turns out, they were just fighting because he sent a text to some girl. A text. At least she wasn't pregnant. Always a legitimate concern when teens are involved. Teens producing infants and aging together. Yeah? My mom gave birth to me shortly before she turned 18. I'm 26 now and still childless. It's absolutely bonkers to imagine myself having had a baby by now, let alone an 8-year-old. Holy it, I can't even take care of myself, lol. LMAO, I had a toxic relationship when I was young like that. She was jealous about every possible woman. Long story short, she cheated on me. A lot. Nothing is really stupid in making the decision to come in for a couple session, but the most startling session I've had was when the couple had barely sat down and one of them informed the other that the relationship was over, turned to me and said thank you for supporting partner, through this and left the office. Jesus, that's cold. I think I would prefer that scenario over we go to a fancy restaurant, so you can't scream at me. Oh how you underestimate my ex? He'd scream and flip the table even at a nice restaurant. Hey, when the opportunity presents itself to flip aid the table, you flip aid the table. I had a woman come in for couples counseling. Over the phone she reported that her boyfriend, with the same last name, very confusing, was distant and was refusing to listening. When the session started it was just her that showed up. She went on and on about how absent he was and how he refused to see the progress she had been making in her life. It turns out the boyfriend was an ex who had a restraining order against her and lived halfway across the country from her. She was delusional and was receiving treatment for her mental health issues. She just could not get her thinking away from him and legally changed her last name to his, because it would mean they would be together. She figured couples counseling was the way to work other relationship issues. Whoa! How did you deal with her? This sounds just like Lorna from Orange is the New Black. Wow! This is by far the most insane one on this thread. My ex made an app for us when he got his side girl pregnant. I was 26 and in grad school, lonely, stressed, and horribly gaslit, and went along. At the time the therapist would say if he hasn't changed by now he's not going to. Usually I'm trying to keep people together, but I'm not sure I can now and I would get mad. Now I look back and things, come on girl, run. A relative of mine went to counseling because his wife was having affairs their entire marriage. Their counselor told him to get a divorce. He said straight up that every relationship is not meant to be saved. He is now happily divorced and has an amazing new fiancée 7 years later, so it ended up being somewhat okay. I needed to hear this. It seems impossible to leave, but equally impossible to stay. I'm slowly destroying myself. In the long run you won't regret leaving, but you already regret staying. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button and leave a comment which story you liked the most. Subscribe and hit the bell notification for updates on our latest videos. And don't forget to check the links in the description box for more awesome content.